On June 22nd, the United States of America conducted Operation Midnight Hammer, or Hammer of Midnight, which consisted of using several state-of-the-art bombers, multiple fighter jets to clear the way, and a nuclear submarine to bomb 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, where uranium was already being enriched to 60% for use in nuclear weapons. These are the Natanz Nuclear Facility, the Isfahan Nuclear Technology Center, and the Fordow Uranium Enrichment Plant. However, one of the facilities, the Fordow Uranium Enrichment Plant, located about 30 kilometers northeast of Qom, Iran, is built into the solid rock of a mountain, specifically about 80 to 100 meters deep. And this was done precisely to protect and make the plant resistant to any kind of attack, especially aerial bombings. And that's why Israel launched a real campaign to encourage the United States to enter this war. That's because the United States is the only country in the world that has a certain massive ordnance penetrator, or massive ordnance penetrator, the only bomb in the world with a chance of causing any significant damage to such well-protected facilities built deep inside the solid rock of a mountain, like the Fordow nuclear plant. The Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or Guided Bomb Unit 57, or simply Massive Ordnance Penetrator, is a bomb that weighs almost 14 tons, a bunker buster type made for high-precision attacks. With just over 6 meters in length and just over 2,400 kilos of explosives like AFX, 757, and PBXN, 114, it was developed by Boeing, and it is capable of penetrating up to 60 meters. That's right, 60 meters of reinforced concrete. And it can penetrate even deeper into lighter materials like sand. Composed of a delay fuse and made of a special, extremely dense and resistant steel called Eagle steel, it is capable of withstanding and resisting extreme impacts before exploding deep underground. It was made to be launched by just one plane in the world, the B-2 Spirit, the most expensive aircraft, which can only carry a maximum of 2 bombs at a time. However, the Fordow plant was built very deep under a mountain, at depths estimated to be about 80 to 100 meters. This means that the Massive Ordnance Penetrator had to penetrate not only several meters of solid rock, but also had to break through a dense layer of reinforced concrete that protects the main halls of the entire facility. So, if the Massive Ordnance Penetrator can penetrate about 60 meters and the plant is about 80 to 90 meters deep, that leaves a gap of 20 to 30 meters remaining to reach the core of the plant. Why did President Trump claim that the bombs completely obliterated the plant on the first strike? The ability of a bomb to penetrate and go through several walls one after another, or to pierce several meters into the ground or rock, it's really impressive and seems like something out of science fiction. However, the ability of a bomb to penetrate such surfaces depends on some physical and ballistic factors, which must be very well met for it to actually work. These include the material the bomb is made of, which must be very strong and resistant, the shape of the bomb, especially the tip, the impact speed, and the density of the bomb itself. The material it is made of not only prevents it from completely disintegrating and turning into twisted metal right at the initial impact, but also serves to protect the bomb's electronic components, like the Global Positioning System module and the detonation fuse, from stopping working prematurely, though located nearer the bomb's rear. Since this type of bomb can even count the number of floors it has already passed through, so it only explodes on a predetermined floor. What about the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, its electronics and detonation fuse? Allow it to estimate the depth it has already reached and even assess the type of material encountered during penetration, so it can estimate the optimal time to detonate The bomb's fuse plays an equally critical role in penetration capability, since essentially two types of fuses are used. High-mass, high-density bombs with low volume, like the Guided Bomb Unit 28, which, despite its thin fuse, can penetrate up to 60 meters in reinforced concrete and up to 30 meters in soil. And the fuse of bombs with high mass, high density, and large volume like the massive Ordnance Penetrator, which can penetrate up to 60 meters in reinforced concrete structures and rocks. However, none of these previous points will work if the impact velocity is not tremendous. The massive Ordnance Penetrator is released from high altitudes, typically between 10 and 15,000 meters. This lets it enter a supersonic freefall, reaching speeds of about 1,700 to 2,500 kilometers per hour. This ensures extremely high kinetic energy on impact, which is essential to make sure it can break through and reach great penetration depths. But even with all that power, the massive Ordnance Penetrator has its own limitations, and not everything can be pierced easily. And that's why the bombing of the Fordow facility requires the use of 7 B-2 Spirits, each carrying 2 bombs. Knowing the limitations of the massive Ordnance Penetrator and not clearly mentioning the exact composition of the rock, the walls, and the overall structure with which the facility was built, and also not clearly mentioning the exact depth of the facility. The United States employed an attack with a depth multiplying effect, which many are calling drilling. This attack consisted of only 6 impact points made by the MOPs, which can be seen in these satellite images. Which means that out of the 12 bombs dropped on Fordow, a total of 2 bombs went into each of the 6 holes, one after the other. This allowed the impact of the first one to penetrate to a certain uncertain depth, but it definitely wouldn't reach inside the facility itself. That way, the second bomb would go through the same hole made by the previous one and would probably continue penetrating until it entered the interior of the facility, thus causing the intended destruction. This type of attack, where one bomb follows the path of the other, was extremely important because Iran employs concrete modification techniques in laboratories at a very advanced level worldwide, precisely to withstand and resist attacks from bunker-busting bombs. This type of attack doesn't aim to completely destroy the underground facility, but rather to cause significant damage to entrances, the facility's ventilation systems, and electrical systems, or to hit a room that contains equipment considered critical for the plant's ongoing operations, such as, for example, one of the rooms that houses the centrifuges for uranium enrichment, thus causing significant delays to Iran's nuclear weapons development program. The mission was also impressive for other reasons.
The strike package was supported by United States Strategic Command, United States Transportation Command, United States Cyber Command, United States Space Command, United States Space Force, and United States European Command.
The strike package that the general refers to is the group of 7 B-2 Spirits. In other words, in this mission, 6 command divisions were directly involved in the planning and execution of this mission. But there's more.
At approximately 5 o'clock in the evening, State Highway, and just before package entered Iran, a submarine in the area of responsibility launched more than 200 Tomahawk missions against targets, key infrastructure in Isfahan.
This is where the excellence of perfect synchronization between timing and logistics of all these command divisions becomes evident. While the B-2 Spirits were approaching Natanz and Fordow with an escort of 4th and 5th generation fighters for any threat of missiles or other Iranian interceptor jets, a submarine near the coast of Iran launched just over 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles, which we've already discussed here on the channel, towards the Isfahan plant, the 3rd plant targeted in the attack. But because of the submarine's location and the missile's flight time to the plant, They are launched much earlier so that they hit Esfahan in a precise and very well calculated manner, right after Natanz and Fordow are bombed by the B-2 Spirits, thus maintaining the element of surprise. This is considering the B-2 Spirits had already flown over 18 hours non-stop. And with this attack, it is estimated that the United States spent more than 60% of its known arsenal of MOPs.